Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, we're going to talk some boxing. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well. I'm inside of my studio right now. I'm about to put out some music, put some sunlight inside of here. And we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather versus Henry Brusseles for a minute. Now, basically, what I'm trying to do when I look at all these fights is look from the competitor's point of view, not Mayweather's point of view, but competitor's point of view, at how they could devise a game plan to beat Floyd Mayweather. Because I'm always interested in how could a fighter beat Floyd Mayweather. And I'm going to explain to you some of the things I saw in that fight. Now, Henry Brusseles basically fought a style somewhat like Miguel Cotto. He had a double guard style where he's looking to a double guard so he can close it down, protect his chin, protect his face, protect it from the hooks and stuff. And he stayed in that sort of crouch style, so he get low. And he had a really decent jab. Henry Brusseles had a very good jab, and if you look even at his career as a boxer, he had a pretty decent career as well as a boxer. Um, you know, but to get back to Henry Brusseles was a guy that landed the Mayweather fight, and in landing the Mayweather fight, hold on a second, I need to take a break. I will be right back in a second. Okay, so back to what we was talking about, which is Mayweather versus Brusseles. So, in the very first round of that fight, Brusseles actually did quite well. Do not listen to the commentary. Listen to watch what you're seeing. Okay, watch what you're seeing. Brusseles did land some really good jabs to the pit. He also landed some very good body shots. Mika Cotto being the guy that was his sparring partner, sort of imitated Floyd. The trainer of Brusseles being, I believe it's either the uncle of Mika Cotto or the father of Mika Cotto. I'm not too sure which one, but he also trained Mika Cotto. Both guys had similar styles of boxing, and I think that the style that Brusseles employed was quite effective against Floyd in the earlies. Basically, Brusseles was coming off of his jab. He was staying low. He was bobbing and weaving every now and then. Um, and he was finding the range. He was catching Floyd with some body shots. He was doing some pretty effective work. Now, not everything was clean, but he was getting some shots to the body. Floyd, in response, was landing some shots as well, but he was falling short of a lot of his shots. So at the end of round one, the trainer of Brusseles was telling him that, hey man, listen, you're doing a good job. See, this guy's in the big leagues, and you can hang with the guys at this level. Now, basically, Brusseles is a young prospect coming up. He had never been a contender or anything. And he was doing relatively good in his career. Of course, facing Floyd at the time, Floyd was two-time world champion against two lineal champions. He had faced Gennaro Hernandez. He had faced Jose Luis Castillo. He had faced fighters. I mean, he had faced professionally. He had been through it all. Faced Diego Carrasco to beat him. He had faced Jesus Chavez and beaten him. You know, Angel Manfredi. Emmanuel Augustus. He had been through DeMarcus Corley in the super lightweight division. So he had a wealth of experience behind him, not just being a two-time WBC world champion, but he also was, he had a lot of experience facing top-tier guys who were like pound for pound above him and in his own, weight class, the best in his weight class. So when Brusseles started facing Floyd, you got to understand Floyd had all this experience. Brusseles had none of this experience. So think of it like where a younger amateur fighter is facing the world champion for the first time, a pro, and when you realize you can hang in the ring with guys like that, it gives you confidence. And Brusseles was doing very well in the first round against Floyd. He was doing exceptionally well in terms of his experience, and the fact that he had never been a world champion, he had never been a contender, he had never been at this level. So he was hanging with Floyd, which was really, you got to give the kid a lot of props. Okay, the kid did very, very well. He would go on to become a contender, I think, 2 other times. I think he got knocked out once. I think against Vivian Harris. I think he was a contender against him, and I think he was a contender against either. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Ricky Hatton, maybe. But Floyd wasn't a contender at this point in time. He was just a world champion who had been a world champion at 2 other weight classes. He moved up this weight class, faced DeMarcus Corley, very strong, very tough, former world champion at super lightweight. So Floyd had been christened into super lightweight. So Henry Brusseles, was hanging in there with him, which was very good. Very good, considering this kid had no experience at that level. This was the first time he was up there. He was doing pretty good, okay? His style was effective at first. But the problem with Mayweather is he makes these little adjustments. And so what Brusseles was working for him, where he was working the body and stuff on the inside in the first round, Floyd just smothered him. He adjusted range. The thing with Floyd, I'm going to explain to all you guys, because I'm thinking now as a guy who's going up against him to beat him, okay? What I observed is that with Mayweather, he's extremely observant. He's extreme. I can't explain how observant this guy is. And in that fight, we saw that. Not only was Floyd paying attention to the guy in front of him, which was Brusseles. People talk about having laser focus, right? And you got to be laser focused in on what you're doing. Yeah, but in being laser focused, which I'm an individual like that, when I'm laser focused, I actually block out everything else, not Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather not only has laser focus, but he can observe everything that's going on. I heard Andre Berto say that this guy is paying attention to everything. He says he's never met somebody so aware in his life like that. The dude is hearing, and in the fight against Brusseles, he was having a conversation with Jim Lampley while he's fighting Henry Brusseles. He's telling Jim Lampley who he prefers in the NFL football, which team he's going to be backing while he's fighting Henry Brusseles. He's listening to the commentary team when they think that he's having this dispute with his uncle, when that's not what's happening at all. Floyd, when he went to the corner, you guys were paying attention, Roger Mayweather comes up to Floyd. He comes into the ring and starts talking to Floyd and says, See? And Floyd's like, yeah, he's easy work. He's easy work, right? They were both animated, but they were actually in agreement. And then when the commentary team starts saying, how Floyd is clashing with his uncle, you hear Floyd saying, it's okay, uncle, right? Absolutely, uncle. Whatever you say, uncle, because Floyd realized I could handle this guy on the inside. I can handle this guy on the outside. I can handle this guy at mid-range. I got this dude. This is done, okay? And he figured that out by adjusting range as the fight was going on along. So in the second round, Henry Brusseles was trying to do the same things he did in the first round, not understanding that Floyd just made adjustments to him, and Floyd was now changing range on him. The one thing, I don't know how to explain this to people. The problem with dealing with Floyd Mayweather, okay, if you're going to try and beat him, is you may have a great game plan. The game plan actually makes sense, which is jab. Coming off your jab, okay? You got to be pivoting as you're coming in. You're coming in off your jab and coming in off an angle. Push them back to the ropes, right? That's a perfect idea. Working off your jab and then doing everything else off your jab is a perfect idea. It works. It actually works. Marcus McDonald versus Floyd Mayweather, the first fight. It worked, okay? Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather, the first fight. Well, early in the fight, it worked. Arturo Gatti against Floyd Mayweather, first round, it worked, okay? It does work because Floyd is looking generally to counterpunch you. He wants you to come to him, but if you overcommit, that's where you make the mistake and that's where he gets you, okay? Now, it works. Can you maintain that for 12 rounds? Okay? Now, here's the other thing. You got to stay low. So you're trying to be an elusive target. So you're not just going to be trying to come in there. You want to be able to be flexible, bobbing and weaving, little slips, little slips, just little slips. You don't want to move your head too much, right? You want to slip a little bit here, slip a little bit here, just slip, small, minute movements, right? All the guys I'm talking about in the first round did very well against Floyd, including Marcus McDonald, who had a hell of a jab. And then he jabbed from low to high, from low to high. You're flicking that jab up in the air. AKA Jake LaMotta, AKA Rocky Castellini, AKA all the great fighters understand you got to change levels and jab up. Okay, from low to high always gives another box of problems. You push them back. The other guy I was thinking of is Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson, Jack Dempsey. All these guys jabbed from low to high. They kept the low ground, so you couldn't really hit them. They were not easy target because they made themselves small. Legs far apart, but spot low down, okay? Sammy Sadler used to do what Oscar De La Hoya was doing. Actually, Oscar De La Hoya imitated Sammy Sadler's style to try and get at Floyd because Sammy Sadler was very effective against guys like Willie Pep, okay? So that's the style that they thought would nullify Floyd's style because you got to go get him, but you can't just go get him. And you don't want to walk into traps because that's where Floyd actually benefits off of fighters. There are very rare occasions where Floyd will walk a fighter down. Zab Judah was one of them. Miga Cotto, he actually had to walk him down at certain points. And Miga Cotto stayed disciplined. And you would wonder, well, why did Miga Cotto lose the fight against Floyd? I'm going to tell you, but we will get to that another time. Okay, Henry Brusseles had to style something like Miga Cotto. Of course, he didn't have the experience like Miga Cotto had. And, he had never been at the championship level like Miga Cotto had. All those kinds of things. But he landed a big fight with Floyd. Kudos to him. He could talk about it to this day. He could talk about his fight with Floyd. I hope he does talk about that memorable fight with Floyd because, he's one of those guys on the legacy of Floyd. His name's always going to be mentioned. So Floyd started making adjustments to Henry Brusseles. He couldn't get off his punches on the inside because Floyd positioned his body in such a way and he would run up on him and then head check Henry Brusseles. So Brusseles' head is off to the side. Floyd just used the forearm, push his head back. And once you push the head back, the body can't really do nothing because the body followed the head. Okay? And Brusseles didn't know how to just kind of ease back, take a step back, because you can't roll under it once the forearm's on you. So you roll back. Now that clears up Floyd to land right, because he liked to come with the forearm and then the right after it. Okay? He liked to do that. But what you do is, what do when he tries to do that? Arturo Gatti was really good at doing this. Once he gets the forearm on you, okay, you rock back and down. You rock back and you dip. So if the right's coming after it, you're gonna ride the punch or he's gonna miss. You dip and then you roll under. You roll back the other way, or you dip and you roll another way. That's what you got to do against guys like Floyd. So he will miss. Marcus McDonald's good at doing that. Anyway, Jose Luis Castillo also, I forgot him. He had a decent jab. Also knew how to counter punch. He was also a counter puncher. So he knew how to pull counter and all that stuff. And so Jose Luis Castillo was a tricky dude. You know, he would set it up as if he's going to jab to the body and then he'd come with a hook. Or he come as if he's going to throw a hook to the body and then he come with a hook over the top. Or he come as if he's going to jab to the top and he comes and jabs to the pit. He do all them feints and stuff. And Castillo was a really good all-around boxer. He could fight on the inside, fight on the outside. You know, he could fight at close range. But generally speaking, he likes to put pressure on you and fight coming to you. Okay? You push him back, he's a little bit more vulnerable and he could get stopped. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So with Henry Brusseles, I was watching it. He did the first round was good. The second round, Floyd started making adjustments to distance. These small little adjustments in timing and in positioning of his body. And those things make a big difference. And it's because, like I said before, Floyd's very much aware of the real estate that's in front of him. And so as a result of that, Henry Brusseles was now starting to do the double jab. He's still jabbing to the pit. He's still getting the jab to the pit. He's doing the double jab, and then coming up with the follow-up right hand. And guess what? The right hand was nowhere to be found. Floyd had made an adjustment on that. At first, Floyd was in the second round, allowing him to still touch him to the body, still allow him to get some of the punches into the body, and he would counter him. Third round, Floyd decided, you're not touching my body. And Floyd would actually skip out of the way of the punches, and so Brusseles wasn't even landing punches to the body like he wanted to. Sometimes he'd get it in close, sometimes he'd get that jab to the pit in there, or a jab to the head, and sometimes he'd clock him over the head with a nice overhand right. So he was catching Floyd with some shots. But more and more, Floyd was actually landing punches on him than he was landing punches on Floyd. Again, Floyd making these more small little adjustments. By round 4, Floyd and Roger, they realized Roger was telling him to go to the body all the time, touch him to the body, keep that jab in his face. By round number 4, Floyd realized that he could stay on the inside. He started cramping Brusseles on the inside, and he started infighting Brusseles. At that point in time, Brusseles loves to be on the inside, but because Floyd was head checking him, which the referee actually told Floyd, hey, you can't use that shoulder anymore. You can't be using your forearm like that. And so Floyd started to use his forearm down low and check him down low, bump him with the shoulder, and then he would start working his work. He always had position on Brusseles. Brusseles didn't know where to put his head at certain points in time on the inside. You could tell. Brusseles would keep the double guard and line up his head sometimes on the wrong side of Floyd because Floyd angled his body a certain way. So as that was starting to go on now, Floyd was starting to change up the game, and Brusseles' trainer didn't really understand that Brusseles was actually losing energy because Floyd was working his body. And so Brusseles was starting to get a little bit more sluggish in what he was doing. Not understanding Floyd is round by round accumulating punishment on you at selected areas of your body. He was targeting him. He was like one of them jets or wasps. He would hit him rat-a-tat-tat and be out of the way. Rat-a-tat-tat, be out of the way. Rat-a-tat-tat and be out of the way. And when I say be out of the way, I'm not saying he's moving and making excessive movements in real estate. No, he would hit you and either he would spring back or he would hit you with pivot off the way, or he would hit you with a combination or with 2 or 3 punches, and then he would either slide into the inside, but he's never at the same range after he shuts a punch, and he's not standing directly in front of you. He's constantly pivoting and turning you this way and that way. And especially when you get hit, as a fighter, you need to be disciplined enough to understand not to want to just want to get back. Shane Mosley is guilty of that. Oscar De La Hoya is guilty of that. Floyd will hit him with a shot and they immediately want to get a get back. You can't be doing that in boxing. You have to also be patient. Okay? It's not always about trying to get a get back. It's not always about trying to get in a firefight. A lot of these guys, Arturo Gatti, Oscar De La Hoya, Zab Judah, all of these motherfuckers, they fell for the bait, and that's how the fight turned into Floyd's favor, because a lot of them wanted to get back, and so they had all this boxing knowledge, all this boxing skill, but they abandoned that. Like I said before, boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical, and there are only a few handful of fighters who fight at the level where they understand, I can't get this bad guy back now. I got to set him up for later on. I got to punish him for what he's doing to me. And Floyd is a guy who will make his adjustments so that when he gets you, you don't get him back. So that's what was happening in the fight. The fight was happening in such a manner that Floyd was making all these small little adjustments to Brusseles. Now, Brusseles, to his credit, kept a pretty decent composure. Okay, there was a certain point where he was overwhelming the fight. There's a reason why they threw in the doctor said stop the fight, and the corner told Brusseles, okay, that's enough, buddy. The problem with the corner's instructions for Brusseles was that the corner didn't realize that Brusseles was losing energy. They were telling him to pump the jab, pump the jab, pump the jab. He could not pump the jab at a certain point in time. It was the same problem I had with Buddy McGirt, where he knew that Arturo Gatti was getting tired. He knew that Arturo Gatti was hesitant to throw the jab, and he didn't give him just precise instructions. And I go and look at this in retrospect. Buddy McGirt is a hell of a trainer. Buddy McGirt done it all. Buddy McGirt knows more about boxing than I do. But in retrospect, the advice that Buddy should have given, of course, 2020 is, looking back, it's always 2020. I got the luxury of that. He should have told him, I know you feeling afraid and tentative to throw the shot right now, Arturo, because he keep on tagging you up. But what you got to do at this stage is commit to throwing that jab. You're going to get hit. Commit to it and throw it stiff and hard. He had to tell him that because he had to get his mind back into a fighting gear, because Arturo, especially round 4 and 5, we was just telling him double up or triple up jab, but we did this in training. No, that's not enough. You got to acknowledge what he's going through his head, because what was going through his head was, shit, I can't even throw. If I throw, this motherfucker going to massacre me. And that's what started to happen to Arturo Gatti. He started to actually be a bit afraid to throw. And so what was happening was Buddy needed to tell him, commit to your shots. You're going to get hit. Commit to the shot. He hitting you hard. I know he hitting you hard. Okay? I know you're feeling those shots. This is a time where you got to be like Mickey Ward. Remember Mickey Ward? He walked through. You got to walk through the shots now with him. You got to be Mickey Ward to him. You got to keep it coming. And the other thing you should have told him was, don't just go to him. Keep on turning around him. Turn. Don't just lunge in, because you trying to get a get back. Don't just try to get a get back. Stay with the game plan. Double up the jab. If your right is falling short, just keep with the jabs. Stay with the jab, and then you'll vary, and then you'll be able to throw your left hook. So Gatti needed to keep him off with the jab. He needed to be popping the jab. He was afraid every time he popped the jab, because Floyd started disciplining him, that Floyd would just jump on him and start throwing all these combinations where he's not seeing the combinations, because Floyd's so fast, he just knows he's getting hit upside the head and the body. And that was what was making him tentative. But he needed to keep jabbing. He needed to keep that jab. That was his major defense at the point in time. But the other thing he needed to do was stay low and pop that jab. He needed to pop the jab, stay low, and continuously change his angle on Floyd. Not stand in front of him, because that's when he would get massacred. So he needed to do that, keep Floyd missing and pop the jab. Once the jab was working, if the right hand ain't working, the jab will work. So he needed to keep popping that jab. He had to keep on thinking, I'm the bigger dude, because Floyd is hitting me upside the head. I don't like it, but he ain't dropping me. So I need to keep popping that jab, because otherwise, especially when you got fatigue, if you mentally start to quit inside of your mind, the fatigue get worse on you. So That's what was happening mentally. Gaddy was starting to wear away because Floyd was wearing him away mentally. Again, boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. Gaddy could have been in a hell of a lot, the greatest shape of his life, which he probably was. But mentally, he was starting to slip because the game plan by Buddy McGirt seemed not to be working. In fact, that was the game plan that would have worked. It'd have made it a tough fight for Floyd if he could have stayed low, kept his defense tight, which means dipping under them shots. The lower you go, the harder it is for the other guy to hit you. Even though Floyd was catching and dipping into shots at a certain point in time, that's because Floyd got his rhythm. But initially, if Gaddy didn't start trying to get back on Floyd, the fight would have been kind of like what happened in round one. Floyd was still getting the edge on him, but it would have taken a lot longer. So anyway, back to Henry Brusseles. So Brusseles now, Floyd started varying the range at which he was fighting, okay? And because he varied his range at which he was fighting, because a lot of people commenting that Henry Brusseles, his tempo was ideal for Floyd to beat him. Not necessarily. It depends on if he was actually going to be landing punches on Floyd. Take, for instance, Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather. Oscar was fighting at a tempo that suited Floyd, everybody would have thought. But Floyd wasn't landing a lot of shots on Oscar, right? Oscar D was pretty good until he got tired. And he got tired, of course, because Floyd was starting to wear him down. And that's the problem, the accumulation of punishment that Floyd will give you. And the thing about it is, even though Floyd may have signature moves, you got to understand for every fighter, you have to be able to adjust your range and distance to be able to execute those signature moves. That's where Floyd's really good at doing that. The nitty-gritty details is how he adjusts range and distance to take away things you have and still be able to implement things that he's good at doing. So that's what Floyd ended up doing against Brusseles. And Brusseles, as I was watching through Brusseles' eyes, what he needed to do, like I said before, the corner was telling him to pop the jab and stuff and double and triple it up, and he was getting fatigued. He was getting fatigued because Floyd was landing those body shots and landing the headshots. And then Brusseles now, he's chasing down Floyd and reaching with some of his shots. So he keeps on getting counterpunched. So, but he is landing shots, don't get me wrong. He is landing shots. It's more of a to and fro at certain points. But then on the inside now, Floyd turns out to be the stronger guy. So Floyd's actually wearing out Brusseles now on the inside. So by the end of round 4, 5, I think it was round 6 when he said, to Uncle, man, this is easy work. This is easy work, right? He's telling Uncle Roger that. He realized he could do anything he wants with Brusseles at this point in time because Brusseles, he's not strong on the inside. Cotto was a hell of a lot stronger on the inside than Brusseles was. That's why the fight Floyd had with Cotto was a good-ass fight. It was a tough fight. Now, a lot of things about the fights with Floyd Mayweather I noticed is they're not as exciting as a firefight. Like, back in the 80s, them guys, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Hagler and stuff, they were exciting fights, they look like life and death fights. A Mayweather fight doesn't look like that. And it's not just because Mayweather's in control. Sometimes he's not in control, okay? But it's that he's so calm and composed, and the fact that he don't behave like excitable. He's not an excitable dude. That even when the other fighter is excitable, he tamed the other fighter. Miguel Cotto was a hell of a fighter. He'd been through many fights. I remember the memorable Shane Mosley versus Cotto, in which Mosley was really getting better at Cotto and probably would have stopped him. The way how he was coming at Cotto in the final parts of their fight. Cotto was a vicious motherfucker, okay? Badass motherfucker. Cotto versus Mayweather was the bloodiest Mayweather fight I've seen in a while. And I thought Cotto gave Floyd all he could handle. It was grueling. It was brutal. Floyd almost knocked out Cotto in the 12th round. But it didn't look like both guys. Well, Cotto looked like he had venom on him. But Floyd, because he's so relaxed and so calm, even when he's punching with venom, he looks so calm and relaxed. It don't look as exciting as the fights, the throwback fights. Because guys would come with gusto and everything, and overextend and shit. And, right? And you see their face all messed up and everything, and they can just go, right? You didn't see that shit in a Mayweather fight. He do punch you with things, but he's always relaxed. He's always composed. He's always well balanced. He's always strategic. And the problem with that is when you have a fighter that's that good, even at the end of the round, Floyd he turn around and just be coolly walking to his corner. As excited as the fight may look, y'all like, this ninja's got everything under control. Even in the Oscar De La Hoya fights, with Floyd just laughing at Oscar as Oscar's throwing combinations, Oscar is hurting him. He did bloody his nose. Y'all didn't need to pay attention. Oscar did catch him with some good ass shots too. But Floyd be so cool that at the end of the round, he just be walking back, sauntering back to his corner, as if, nah, this ain't nothing. And it's funny to see because it's like, that is why the fights are not as exciting as those other fights. Because for Floyd, it's like, okay, yeah, you did a thing or two. Let's see what you do down the stretch. And so his fights don't see, when it comes to style and flair, the fights are fucking amazing. Okay, style and just the things, the skill sets and the things he does in there. But when it comes to excitement, like a drag out, war, life and death, and that's why these life and death fighters like Shane Mosley and Oscar De La Hoya was very exciting in their times. Once they faced Floyd, it was a totally different story, it was. And they're great fighters. They are and were great. Manuel Marquez, great fighter, throwing a host of combinations, hitting air, right, against Floyd. Ends up knocking out Manny Pacquiao, right? Drag out, war, right? That shit don't happen with Floyd. The closest to that happening was Jose Luis Castillo versus Mayweather 1. I guess Oscar versus Floyd. Well, actually, in his super featherweight career, we had a lot more. Jesus Chavez versus Floyd Mayweather, like I said before, is I think that was one of the guys that stood up to him and was an amazing fight. I wish that fight could have gone on a little bit longer just to see what would have happened if Jesus Chavez kept on fighting Floyd. Because Jesus Chavez put on a hell of a performance against Mayweather, ended up becoming a two-time two-divisional world champion, lost to Eric Morales, but you know what I'm saying? He was an incredible fighter. A little guy that was just like, it was like a motor running. He didn't have no stop in him. And I wanted to see, Randy Shields stopped the fight, but Ronnie Shields, sorry. But, I really wanted to see more. That was a hell of a fucking fight. And, that was a fight I wanted to see what would have happened if it went on a little longer. Diego Krause versus Mayweather. Diego Krause was getting his ass whooped, but I wanted to see more. I did not like that his family stopped the fight. Diego Krause was a warrior, and we saw Diego Corrales against Jose Luis Castillo. Okay, so he was more winning that fight, and then the tide turned and Castillo started beating his ass and then dropped his ass and shit. But he turned around and he got that chance to redeem himself, and he proved by knocking out fucking Jose Luis Castillo. He knocked his ass out cold, like cold. He was out cold on the ropes. He didn't fall to the ground, but cold. And I wanted to see if that Diego Corrales would have showed up against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd was whooping his ass, no doubt about it. He was trying to do better per round, but Floyd was whooping his ass. And the question would have been, what would have happened if his family had allowed him to fight on? We don't know. Diego Krause wanted to fight on. He didn't want nobody pulling the plug. He was target practice, but I wanted to see if he could have made it to 12 rounds and what he would have done, how he would have calibrated and tried to figure out Floyd to be able to beat him. I just feel like Diego Krause needed that. He was a world champion. They had stripped him of the IBF title, but he had never been defeated to become as an IBF world champion. He was mowing down everybody. Floyd was mowing his ass down, but Floyd wasn't hitting with something that was like, concussive, lights out Tony kind of shit. Now, I know accumulation punishment is dangerous, and yeah, he was probably dehydrated some, but the will to win was inside this motherfucker. And I wanted to see what he could bring to the table. I wanted to see if if he could come back from that adversity. I just wanted to see. Now, as a fight fan, I wanted to see it. I know health-wise, it might not have been the wisest thing. Floyd was dominating his ass throughout the fight, but you just never know. Mickey Bay was dominating John Molina, and you saw what happened in the last seconds of the fight. What's his name? This motherfucker's name from Philadelphia. Help me out here, people. Shit, the name's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. The Philly kid. He was dominating Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Right? He was dominating him. He was out boxing him, and then Chavez Sr. came back. Right? Castillo versus Mayweather. Mayweather was dominating Castillo in the beginning, and then Castillo started picking up momentum, and then he started coming back. I'm just saying, and made it a close fight to the finish line. Right? So I'm just saying that we wanted to see if at some point Diego Corrales would have been able to handle what Floyd was dishing to him and then start to do his own game plan. I think his corner just threw in the towel out of disgust, and Diego Corrales was devastated at that. You took away his one thing that he did very well, which was boxing. Why would you take away his love? Why would you take away a fight from him? You know, if he died in the ring, he died in the ring. But, you know, I just think that, you know, and even in the Castillo fight, the corner wanted to throw in the towel with Diego Corrales, and it was, his trainer, Diego Corrales' trainer, who for some reason I just forgot his name, Goosen, Joe Goosen, who said, no, we're not throwing in the towel. And if you look at Diego Corrales even versus Mayweather, he was, you know, he was there. Because even after he got knocked down the fifth time, he was like, don't throw in the towel. Don't. And his coordination and everything was good. So obviously he got knocked down, but he was buzzed, you know, but it doesn't mean that he was like done. You know, I kind of feel for Diego Corrales and his family because I wanted to see what he could have done. All right. He'd been knocked down 5 times, sure. But could he have continued on? Yes, he could have, you know. And I'm not mad at the stoppage, but I just feel like you should at least, the guy got a warrior heart. You know, let the guy at least go out on the shield. Let him go out on the shield. If he dies, so be it. But listen, you let him go out on the shield. In this case, you owed it to him because he was a world champion. You owed the world champ that. He was a champ. They stripped him, but he was a champ. Ain't nobody else was the IBF world champion. He was him. Okay, and they could have stripped him how much they want to strip him, just like how they stripped what's his name? You know, like Shane Mosley winning for Floyd Mayweather. He was the #1 welterweight in the world. He had just beaten Antonio Margarito. Now they didn't go up with belts, but he was the WBA champion. There ain't nobody else who was the WBA champion. You know what I'm saying? He was the man. You know, when he faced Floyd, and he showed why he was the man. Second round, when he put Floyd down on his ass. Okay, did he put him down? Actually, he didn't put him down, did he? Shit. Fuck, he didn't even put down Floyd. God damn. But anyway, the point is, he almost put down Floyd, right? You heard him pretty bad. And he showed why he is Shane Mosley, okay? And one like in that fight, Shane Mosley didn't show up. Shane Mosley showed up, but, you know, probably didn't have his clear. No disrespect to Shane Mosley. I don't want to disrespect Shane Mosley like that, but he did look different coming into the Mayweather fight than the Mosley we knew in the Margarito fight before. He looked a lot more younger, and he was what, 37, 38 in the Margarito fight, and he was 39 against Floyd. I don't think he came in old. He was using something, man. Mosley knew he was using something all up to that fight. Mosley, all the way up from 2002 or 2000, whenever, when the Valco scandal happened, and before that, he was using that thing. And he used it all the way up until the Mayweather fight, where Mayweather exposed his ass for that stuff. And we all know this because he looked different going into the Mayweather fight than he did going into the Margarito fight. It's just what it is. Now, you don't lose your power, but whatever that thing was giving you maybe energy, extra energy, or whatever it was, He wasn't the same guy that he fought Margarito. Come on now, folks. Let's be real. But anyway, being Mario Mosley showed up in that fight. Okay, he showed up in the fight, but he got his ass whooped. And I mean, it was a bad ass whooping. Now, it wasn't as bad as Vernon Forrest. Vernon Forrest knocked his ass down like he was beating the shit out of Mosley, okay? The worst beating Mosley ever got in his career was against Vernon Forrest. The first fight, not the second one. The second one was a lot more competitive. But the first fight, man, Vernon Forrest damn near knocked his ass out. He was groggy and shit, and somehow Vernon Forrest did not get him out today. That was the worst beating he ever got. The Winky Wright fight, both fights, he got his ass beat pretty bad in the first one, but wasn't an ass whooping, right? The second one, you know, he really rallied and did pretty good, but, you know, he still lost that one. Mayweather fight. He did well up to the second round. After that was a straight up ass beating. He got his ass. He knows it. He don't like Floyd for it, but Floyd gave him an ass. He knows he got an ass whooping. And he knows as a fact that Floyd hits hard. Okay? He's not a guy who's a showstopper. He ain't gonna hit you with one punch and knock you out like Mosley could. But motherfucker can punch. And the thing about Floyd was, again, mentally, imagine you think you almost dropped a guy, you almost stopped a guy. You go from that high where everybody's like, wow, to getting your ass whooped. You know why? Because again, he peaked out mentally. He peaked out saying, I can knock this guy out, right? I got the power to knock this guy out. Floyd already was making adjustments in the very same round he was getting knocked out. I was trying to tag Mosley's ass. Mosley took punishment for the rest of the fight. He did land one or two good shots on Floyd, but Floyd wasn't having it. And Floyd walked his ass down and beat his ass from pillar to post. He was taking an ass whooping. He knew that. He knew he was taking an ass whooping. And Floyd was the third person to give him an ass whooping. And then Pacquiao came in and gave him the fourth ass whooping. He fought very well against Canelo, even though he still was fade out and a bit rubbery and shit like that. You know, he fought a good fight against Canelo. Canelo still gave him an ass whooping, but, you know, he got ass whoopings. He got consecutive ass whoopings from elite fighters. And he was like, you know, he had to pull up Ricardo Mayorga and whoop his ass because everybody else was whooping his ass. And a lot of people say, well, Mosley, you know, he wasn't all that. No, it wasn't that. It's not that, ladies and gentlemen. Boxing sort of changed. It wasn't just about rock, you know, I'm going to hit you and I'm going to get you back and you're going to get me and blah. It wasn't exactly that anymore, okay? It was a lot more strategic, you know. It was a lot more strategic. So it wasn't just about giving people a show. It was about dominating the other guy, you know, mentally, physically, etc. And not only just dominating, but making the adjustments necessary for the dealing with the style. And you started hearing a lot of boxers talk about making necessary adjustments. Now, they were saying it from time immemorial, but it became a theme after a while because a lot of the younger fighters coming up would see Floyd, and so he was the gold standard for things. So Henry Brusseles, man, got a really great learning experience from facing Floyd Mayweather. Did he do him well? Was he able to face the elite fighters and actually overcome them and beat them? No. But it was a great learning experience for him. Okay, he'd been in the ring with a guy who was two-time world champion, had faced all the best fighters of his different divisions. He had faced the pinnacle fighter in the sport of boxing who was already being called pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, even though he wasn't. Unofficially, he was being called that. Roy was commenting on Floyd, and Roy literally said that Floyd was the only guy that could beat himself because, you know, he said guys like myself and Floyd. And it was interesting hearing Roy actually give that kind of praise to Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather borrowed a lot of things from Roy Jones Jr. A lot of people don't know that, career-wise and otherwise. Floyd was borrowing a lot of things that Roy brought to the table. Roy was a pioneer of a lot of things in boxing when it comes to entertainment. So when Roy says that he was the greatest or he was TBE, in a certain respect, Roy was TBE of changing the sport of boxing in terms of entertainment, the ring entrances. Roy was responsible for that, bringing black style to boxing and rap and hip hop to boxing. Roy was responsible for that. Having his own record company, Roy was responsible for that. Bringing the swag to boxing, Roy was responsible for that. Being so dominant and not getting hit like that, Roy was responsible for that. Popularizing the left hook, Roy was responsible for that. Showing a whole other level of athleticism and fitness in boxing, an unorthodox style, showing that you didn't have to begin everything with a jab. Roy was responsible for that. Roy showed us and blew our minds in a snake-like way in which he fought. Nobody ever in the history of boxing had ever seen somebody as serpentine and snake-like as Roy Jones Jr. Okay, Roy was responsible for that, and Floyd copied that style. He copied a lot of things that Roy was doing, and if Floyd was being honest, when he was younger, he'd be copying a lot of things that Roy was doing, okay? A lot of people, Roy Jones Jr. was their idol, and I get why. And to this day, Roy is still a very effective trainer. That's why if Floyd is going to go into training, I don't see it as a problem because Roy's doing it, and Roy's a very busy dude. And Roy's all up in Russia, and Floyd's all up in Russia. Floyd has been following Roy and doing things that Roy has been doing for years. Okay, if you want to really talk about a big brother to Floyd, it's Roy Jones Jr. And I don't think Roy should ever bad talk Floyd, because basically Floyd did what you put in his mind to do. Roy Jones Jr. is the father of Floyd Mayweather in a lot of ways, and Roy understands the mindset of Floyd. Roy actually, even though he was robbed of that opportunity against Montel Jordan to be that fighter that Floyd would have been, or Floyd is happy for Floyd because Floyd did what the blueprint he actually laid out. Roy had laid out a blueprint, okay, which Floyd happily grabbed. The Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight is exactly a blueprint for the Roy Jones Jr. versus that MMA fighter's name. You guys know who I'm talking about. Oh shit, I'm not blanking out like this. The Silva fight, right? When De Silva was in his prime, Roy wanted to face De Silva. To this day, he still wants to face De Silva, and I think he should. I think Floyd has opened that door for these crossover fights, and I hope that Roy comes out of retirement and faces Anderson De Silva. I hope so. I don't see what's going to stop that fight from happening. It should happen. I would love to see it now, especially that Roy is much older. Anderson De Silva still is. He's not a name, but I would love to see that fight. I feel like the sports community, the boxing community, the sports community owe it to Roy that he gets that fight. Because it's because of his desire to face Anderson Silva, which never crystallized, that Floyd actually ended up facing Conor McGregor. I might be facing some other MMA fighters in the future. Who knows? He's staying in shape. And I feel like if Roy had faced Anderson Silva and beaten him in boxing, because at the time James Toney had done a crossover, but it was unsuccessful because he wanted to go into MMA. He wanted to face an MMA fighter. Roy has always said, I'm not an MMA fighter. But if Anderson Silva wants to take a step across into boxing, let's do it, right? And I think that's where Floyd got the idea of an MMA fighter facing him, because a lot of MMA fighters were calling him out. We had Ronda Rousey calling him out. We had Conor McGregor calling him out. We had I don't know who else, but Conor McGregor was calling him out for a long time. And Floyd answered the call. He said, okay, cool, let's have it, right? It was a big money-making event. It was a huge money-making event for Floyd. But I always believed that Roy was the guy that started pushing this thing, and to see Floyd actually make it a reality, it's a beautiful thing. And I give Roy all the credit in the world for this even happening, because I think if Roy didn't try to make that fight with Anderson Silva in a boxing forum, so everybody criticizes Floyd, for going against Conor McGregor, and that should be counted as a boxing thing. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Roy been the one trying to push for that for years. Okay, if y'all being really honest, Roy and Floyd. Now, even though I talk about the deficiencies of Roy Jones Jr., he was very effective in his time. He beat James Toney. James Toney, arguably one of the best, greatest defensive fighters of all time. Arguably, he is. Okay. No, actually, it's not argument. It's not debate. He is one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. The question is he the greatest defensive fighter of all time? That's up for dispute, okay? You got several names you could throw into the hat. Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather, like I said before, even though he's kind of underrated. Mike McCallum, my usual list of names of all-time defensive fighters of all time, okay? But even so, James Toney's up there, and James Toney will tell you he's the greatest defensive fighter of all time, which, you know what? He got a claim to that, okay? So it's just debatable, but he got a claim to it. But at the end of the day, my point is that, Roy did a lot. He beat James Toney. He beat Bernard Hopkins. He beat everybody that put in front of him. Everybody put in front of him at a certain point in time, he was beaten. When he got past his, when his vulnerabilities were exposed and he got past what he really was, that's when people started beating his ass. He should have retired after the Glenn Johnson fight. I'm not saying that he would have beaten Glenn Johnson. So Glenn Johnson had a particular style again that kind of nullifies what Roy would have been doing, but I'm just saying that, and of course Antonio Tarver had it too. But I'm just saying that Roy, he should have retired at Glenn Johnson. Probably had that Anderson Silva fight. Should have pushed for that fight. But he fought on. He loved boxing. He loved fighting. And so he fought on. Okay? Win, lose, or draw, he was just in it for fighting. Like this kid from Britain who just loved to fight. So he just did it for the love of fighting. Roy. And, I got to say, with all that extensive experience, winning, losing, all that kind of stuff, like a Pacquiao, he kind of did it. He kind of did a throwback thing where he was just fighting for the love of fighting, and he had a goal. He wanted to be cruiserweight champion of the world. That was the only title he had not gotten, and but he was not able to accomplish that one. Roy is phenomenal guy. Went up to heavyweight, fought John Ruiz, beat his ass, came back down. You know what I'm saying? You talking about a guy that he beat people at middleweight. Was the IBF World Champion of middleweight. Went up to super middleweight, did his thing, and became undisputed. Well, almost undisputed. That is, if you don't include the WBO, he was undisputed. Then he went up to light heavyweight and dominated that. Okay. And then he went all the way up to heavyweight. Okay, his 4th-weight class, jumped 2 weight classes, faced John Ruiz, beat his ass, became heavyweight champion of the world. The only thing he never got was his 5th world title, would have been cruiserweight. Never got that. Which is what it is. It is what it is, but incredible guy. Okay, and we're talking about weight classes that are separated by things like 15 pounds, sometimes separated by as much as 20 pounds, you know what I'm saying? So he did a phenomenal thing. And so when I talk about Roy Jones Jr., let me just make it abundantly clear. I'm just talking from a technical and a skills point of view. Roy wasn't really a great inside fighter, but what he did exceptionally well. And again, he made the necessary adjustments to be able to do what he do and do it in a dominant fashion. And yeah, okay, he was athletic and all of that, and that's true, but people really do look past his boxing IQ. He was a guy like Sugar Ray Leonard. He wasn't just stuck to a certain school of boxing and stayed there. He actually looked at outside the school of boxing, and he was able to do things to try and get the W, try to get the win fight-wise, okay? And so that's where Roy really is special. He's special in that regard because he understood the fundamentals, obviously, because when he became what he was what was he, a silver medalist in the Olympics? I think he got silver or some shit like that in the Olympics, and that showed he had amateur pedigree. So you couldn't say, but he had an unorthodox style. He did a lot of the beautiful things that you saw Floyd and some of the other boxers do. Floyd had more fundamentals, could do more in terms of terrain, like in terms of range. Floyd could do a lot more than Roy could have done. But when it comes to outboxing, Roy was just fantastic at doing it. He was really good at doing that. He had to have a particular range to be really effective, but he did all those beautiful things like the pull counters, lead rights, check hooks, the leaping left hooks, spectacular shit. Jabs to the pit, feints. He did the bowler punches. He did the chicken scratch. Very entertaining guy. Triple left hooks, double left hooks. His execution of the bowler punch, where he would come from the floor and hit you with a left hook, aka Sugar Ray Robinson, aka Kid Gavilan. He had all these different varieties. He sweep the right hand, or he shoot the right hand, untelegraphed. By the way, these are untelegraphed punches. Like you pop the jab in a beautiful way, untelegraphed jab. And he had that shoulder fake with it. So, and again, he had the serpentine kind of movement. Roy was beautiful, man. Beautiful boxer. And again, I always have appreciation for boxers and boxing. I love boxing. So when I look at Roy and I look what he did to the game and his swag and just the way how he brought everything to boxing, made it beautiful. He made it poetic. He brought, hip hop to boxing. Boxing used to be jazz and bebop, and he brought hip hop to boxing. Roy is the guy that did that and made it really popular. And Roy, again, HBO did a lot to hurt Roy Jones Jr. He's working with HBO, but they did a lot to hurt him. I would listen to Larry Merchant tear this guy down. He's not facing no real opponent and blah, blah, blah. And this Michalczewski bullshit that came up. Roy fought everybody, man. Michalczewski wanted to chill his ass down in Germany, okay? Roy fought everybody, okay? And how is Roy actually going to do great numbers if he going down in Germany? I mean, okay. So y'all saying, well, he should be able to fight all around the world. But guess what? Roy fought all around the world already in his amateurs. Why did he have to do it again if he don't want to do it? You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people put it, he didn't fight Michalczewski. That's their whole thing. Because if you look at everybody else that Roy fought, he fought everybody else. There are two guys in the sport of boxing who have beaten similar amounts of world champions, a little bit less, but beaten, I'm talking about, but faced a hell of a lot more world champions than Floyd Mayweather. And that is Harry Crabb and Roy Jones Jr. Okay? Them motherfuckers face people. I'm telling you, not even Julio Cesar Chavez. Julio Cesar Chavez did not face as much great fighters as Roy Jones Jr. Go check it out. That motherfuckers are serious. Sugar Ray Robinson too. Okay? Sugar Ray Robinson had a hell of a lot more fights than Roy. Okay? And Roy faced the top tier. Like he said, he played King of the Mountain. Only guy he did not face is Darius Michalczewski. Okay? I think it's Darius. I think his name is Darius. Right? And he didn't face him in Germany. And Michalczewski didn't seem to want business to face with Roy. And we see why. Floyd would have cleaned his clock, would have just totally annihilated him. Roy could have gone to Germany and fought Michalczewski like some of the boxers today are doing, going to Germany and stuff and whooping people's ass. Tyson Fury was the guy that did it. Came to the United States, whooped Deontay Wilder's ass. Just to let you know, Tyson Fury was just on a different level to everybody else out here in the sport of boxing. But I'm just saying he could have done it. But my question to you guys is, what chance did Michalczewski have? Let me put it this way. I'm not saying he wasn't a good fighter, but who the fuck did Michalczewski face to prepare for a Roy Jones Jr.? I'm just saying. Okay. Roy, when he faced Kawasaki, was catching Kawasaki with some beautiful, crisp, right counters. You know what I'm saying? He was catching with some really beautiful shots. It was just that um, Kawasaki was throwing 100 million punches at the same time, you know, and he was pushing back Roy with the jab. Again, the jab being an effective weapon against a fighter. But Roy, there were two problems that I thought Roy had in that fight. But I'm gonna talk about that some other time. I just realized I'm going into so much other stuff than what I was going to. So yeah, Brusseles, man, he did good. He did good against Floyd for a guy who didn't have no experience or nothing. Floyd eventually set him up, hit him with a body shot, put him down. But he had been jabbing to the pit and raking him to the head and hitting him to the, you know, the spleen area, sometimes liver shots and shit. And he'd be tagging him up, especially on the inside. Once he make room with the forearm, he'd go pop, 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 you know, and then he'd come back on the inside. So he was also putting his weight down and then pushing on him and stuff on the inside. And I thought that even though Brusseles was the heavier guy and the bigger guy, physically speaking, Floyd was a stronger guy. And Floyd, a lot of people realize that he's actually a lot stronger than people think, you know. And so Floyd was able to, as an elite fighter who had faced elite and experience and all of that, he was able to capitalize on that and break Brusseles down. And eventually, of course, he stopped him. He knocked him down again a second time because he hit him with the same punch to the solar plexus. And Brusseles, and then he hit him to the head, and Brusseles then collapsed to the ground. And that's when the trainer in the corner realized, you know, this ain't making no damn sense. Brusseles gonna get wiped out. Because Floyd was just skipping in, you know, dancing and shit, and just beating the fuck out of Brusseles at that point in time. But what I was gonna say is the trainer in the corner should have realized that Brusseles was tired, and he was tiring because he was getting punishment. And what they should have done, really, and again, Floyd's kind of like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a guy that didn't necessarily knock you out based on one punch. He wasn't a one-punch knockout artist, even though he knocked out Sonny Liston that way. He wasn't really a one-punch knockout artist. He was a guy who will set you up with traps, set you up with shots. If you're coming to him, that's a great thing for Muhammad Ali. He loved to beat your ass off the back foot. And he tried to do it by taunting you and stuff to get you out your game and make you reach for him and come after him. And once you reach for him, come after him, he's going to counterpunch you. He's going to set you up and run you into something. And the thing with Muhammad Ali, he was exclusively a head shooter, actually, not so much to the body. He got his opponents out by just hitting them with punishment, just punishing them, attrition, a lot of punishing shots. Again, because he's doing a lot of speed, he's not going to have too much weight and force on him. He's not trying to like iron you out of there, but he's vicious with it and sharp. And so accumulation of punishment. George Foreman wore his own ass out on Muhammad Ali, pushing himself into Muhammad Ali, reaching, throwing all those heavy body shots and burning his fucking self out. While Muhammad Ali would pot shot him, hit him with little uppercuts and shot on the inside, you know, hit him with some sharp shots up to the head. So when Foreman, he realized Foreman was tired, he said, motherfucker, I'm gonna show you something. Whoop, 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 whoop. And Foreman was on the ground. He was already exhausted. And on top of that, I'm getting punished while I'm exhausted. That's how he knocked out George Foreman. And a lot of boxers, and that's just the basics, right? When Mayweather, he does exactly the same thing Muhammad Ali does. His thing is attrition. So he's in great physical shape. Muhammad Ali was in great physical shape. They counted on that conditioning to get them through the fight. And when you start to tire and fade, which they're going to do everything in their power to make sure you get it. They're going to make sure they tire you out. So they're hitting you with strategic shots. Floyd used to use more body shots than Muhammad Ali and a much more complete fighter. So he could wear you down on the inside. Muhammad Ali would let you stay on you. Like the rope-a-dope is really his version of inside fighting. He's not doing a lot of fighting. He's making you tire yourself out. It's a version of inside fighting because what? The fighter's going to smother himself at times. Ali gonna lean back on the ropes and bob in and out, so he's a moving target. Catch some shots on the inside, roll some shots, and be in the peekaboo guard, rolling in and out. So he's changing range on you, so you always smothering yourself. So you come in, and again, a lot of the fighters were stupid enough back in the day to reach. So they be fucking reaching, because everybody's all a caveman, everybody's all a superstar. So they going like an asshole. And Ali, he just be riding the fucking wave. He'd be like, yeah, okay, and he got fucking abs. Ali in shape. So he could take some of that punishment. And in the meantime, he be popping something in between. Okay. 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 And just touching him on the inside. When he's ready, he stick the arm out, keep their head right out there, control their ass. So they can't really do what they want to do, because you got to get that leverage, you got to get that balance to throw that shot. So if I'm gearing up to do this, and the guy doing me like this, right? He pushing me down like this, where my shot gonna go? Nowhere, right? So head control, right? So head controlling these motherfuckers, and then hitting them off with some straight shots. So I might head control you here, grab your head, turn you here, push you back, wow, right? You understand? I guess you guys can't see what I'm saying, but I'm set you up because, see, remember, the jab is the rangefinder. The forearm is a rangefinder. So once I can touch you with the jab, I can catch you with my right hand after that, right? So that's the idea behind it. And so, once again, have you guys ever fought? A lot of you guys have never fought before, have you? You just like street fight shit. But if you're strategic behind it, like, have you guys ever gone to a school and learned some skills on how to fight? It don't matter what school of thought it is. If you've had a school of thought of fighting, now you can break it down to understand so that you can teach other people what's happening, right? But if you don't have a school of thought to understand what fighting is, then you're just not. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So so Muhammad Ali's idea was a version of infighting. It's a version. He didn't know how to infight. So he decided, okay, I'm gonna bring the fighter to me. He gonna smother himself. I'm gonna roll some of his punches and I'm gonna catch him back with something. That's what the rope-a-dope actually was. All right, that's essentially what it is. You don't have to be on the ropes to do it. You've seen Floyd Mayweather do it. He rope-a-dope as well, but he rope-a-dope in a defensive way. So Floyd don't stay squared up on you like that. He don't do that shit. He come off on the side like this, and he's at an angle to you, front foot is in front. You can't come past a certain distance, and he's rocking back this way, right? And right, you catch a shot here, come back with this if he wants to, or if he wants to, he can roll either way, right? We've seen it against Philip Endu, where he rolled both ways if you need to, roll the shot, whatever, right? He could go southpaw on you, all kinds of shit he could do, right? But he don't really do that. He just minimize it. He be very economical in fights now. He don't even, the motherfucker just do the bare minimum to beat your ass. He's very efficient. But he can do a lot of things, right? And so with the case of Ali and Floyd, these guys count on breaking you down. Now, if you're in remarkable physical shape, right, you got to be doing it for years. These motherfuckers, that's why they train. Floyd used to train when his opponent's asleep. He be training all the time. He be training at every single hour. He trained 3, 4, 5 times a day. He ain't got no fucking training camp, but he be training. He be sparring, right? Floyd would do it year round. It's because he wanted to keep his conditioning at a level that was above everybody else's fucking conditioning, right? Sean Porter's the kind of guy like that. He picked, his father was smart enough to understand you gotta live fucking boxing. And so Sean Porter trains all the time. They always in shape. They always ready. You hear Terrence Crawford say the same thing now. You hear a lot of fighters say, stay ready. The problem with some of the past great fighters, they do their road work and shit, and they be boxing and shit, but these motherfuckers be drinking. These motherfuckers be womanizing a little too much. These motherfuckers will find themselves out of shape, and they had to get into fucking shape just to fight. That bullshit, you can't have that. Roberto Duran, he used to fight regular so he could stay in shape. But the motherfucker's major problem why Sugar Ray Leonard beat him the second time, because his motherfucking ass went off and blew off and partying like a motherfucker. What the fuck are you doing, Roberto Duran? What the fuck are you doing? You gotta stay in shape. You gotta stay ready, okay? And that's the thing about these guys. They whether it's Thomas Hearns or Sugar Ray Leonard, even Sugar Ray Leonard, who knew you had to be well conditioned all the time, right? Sugar Ray Leonard knew this, and he stayed in shape. And to this day, he still stays in shape. This motherfucker always in shape. Respect to Sugar Ray Leonard, by the way. But even him, you know, Even he laughs. How the fuck you gonna put cocaine in your system, sugar in that? What the fuck is you doing, bro? Come on, man. Like seriously. Like, yeah, okay, there's one thing about being fit. Next thing's being healthy. You can't be putting that shit in your body. You know what I'm saying? To get more speed? Fuck that. Fuck that. You can win a fight. You don't have to be that fast. Who says Chavez Jr. who said Chavez Sr. wasn't the fastest guy in the world? Who said Luis Castillo wasn't the fastest guy in the world? Right? Beat Stevie Johnson way faster than him. Right? How do you beat a fighter that's faster than you? Again, Marcus McDonough showed you. Little snippets of Oscar De La Hoya versus Mayweather showed you. Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao showed you. Boxing. Speed don't mean shit if it ain't got timing. If I can get onto your timing, then I can set your ass up for a knockout. I can set your ass up to get countered. Because speed is not everything, ladies and gentlemen. Power is not everything, ladies and gentlemen. Size is not everything. What's more important than all those things? It's the knowledge, the smarts. Boxing is not 90% physical, 10% mental. It's 90% mental, 10% physical. That's where a lot of y'all go wrong. A lot of y'all get it tripped. A lot of the things that happen in that boxing ring, some guys are much more skilled, they're much more capable, they're faster physically and all of this shit. But they can't stick to their game plan. The game plan to beat Floyd Mayweather that most of the trainers put out, most of their fighters just didn't have the discipline to do it or the know-how. It's either they didn't have the know-how or they didn't have the discipline. Brusseles' trainer gave him a good game plan to beat Floyd Mayweather. But Floyd Mayweather would make adjustments preventing him from doing that game plan. And his trainer did not know how to get his fighter. The trainer didn't know how to get his fighter to commit to the game plan still in a manner that would make him effective. He just kept on telling him, you need to keep on popping the jab. The guy's getting tired, man. The other guy's not tired. He's tired. And the other guy's doing things to get him tired. But on top of that, the other guy's in better physical shape than he is. What do you do then? Right? And the other guy's stronger on the inside. Now, he's getting the shots off on the inside, but still, that's a trick. That's like Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao will let you throw off your shots on the inside. He even make you feel like you're getting some kind of fucking success against him. And then boom, 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 boom. All you know, your ass on the ground. He bait you. And you will fall for it because you will hit him with something. Right? You will fall for that bait. Oh, yeah, I'm really getting through with something. And then all you know, your ass on the ground. It's mental. It's mental. Pacquiao set traps too. All of these top tier guys, they're not just going in that ring gung-ho, just throwing punches. Y'all got to be tripping. And it's not just about how they employ their skills. It's how smart they are with their game plan. How smart they are with how they're going to approach the fight. What is their end game? What is their goal? What are they coming in to fight with? They have a game plan. All of them have a game plan when they go into it. Don't let nobody fool you. All fighters have a game plan. It's not that your game plan isn't effective or it isn't a good premise. Okay? With Floyd Mayweather, a good jab does offset. It does. But he has different ways and methods of dealing with that. Okay? He really does. And the fighter, if you're going to face Floyd Mayweather, and I'm talking from a mindset again of trying to beat this guy, you're going to go in the ring thinking, I'm going to beat him. Okay? You got to know what's effective, first of all, against him from the various fights that you look at. And then the other thing is you must be able to also make the adjustments to be able to allow that thing to continue to be effective against him because he's going to make adjustments. Right? So the fundamentals of boxing still apply. A good jab will beat Floyd Mayweather if it's accompanied by several other factors, which you must have. Okay, you don't have those things. It's not just a good jab will beat Floyd, right? We all know this because you can say it. It's easy to talk. Oh, yeah, a good jab will beat him. Well, a good jab will beat anybody, right? The thing about it is, these guys like Mayweather and Canelo and Pacquiao, they got an answer for a jab. They have a counter for a jab. And on top of that, not only do they have a counter for a jab, they know how to make little adjustments in space, little adjustments in distance, little adjustments in height, little adjustments in reach to nullify that, so that they can get to you, you can't get to them. Right? Whether it's the pivot work they use after the defensive response to come over pivot, or whether it is they catch the jab and hold it a little longer by bending the Marcus Queensberry rules and catch a jab up in your elbow here, have him extended and whoa, hit him with a right to the body, right? They all little tricks of the trade that Canelo and Floyd and all these other guys implement. It's not easy to beat these guys because these guys have tricks. Hold on a second. But looking at Henry Brusseles, man, I respect the kid. I respect the kid. I respect what he tried to do in that ring. He was way over his depth, but he still, at least later on in the fight, but he still hung with Floyd for a good 2-3 rounds, and even 4 or 5 rounds. He got his shots in and stuff. But it was a tough go from the get-go, you know. So I just wanted to give you guys a little evaluation on that. I was thinking about how this dude, he's so aware of everything that it's kind of hard to, he always make all these little tricky adjustments. He had all these tricks in the bag he can do. And even when you're throwing a million punches and you look like you're successful, like Marcus McDonald was for, 1 or 2 rounds in the fight against Mayweather, he's actually making adjustments to you and getting the better of you. And if he has to pull out more skills from his bag, he'll pull out more skills from his bag to deal with you, And I want people to appreciate today's boxing. That's a major thing. I think a lot of people are they're very stupid, because they don't understand the kind of accomplishments in real time. And then it'll take people from another era that could look back at this and be praising guys in this era, which would be really retarded, and be putting down people from their era. And I've been saying this nonstop because I want you guys to appreciate these fighters. I've seen a lot more material now on Floyd Mayweather, and of course the tide is turning on him. More and more people are appreciating what he does. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't break down what he does inside the ring. There was a DAZN segment with Floyd Mayweather, The Sweet Science, but they never broke it down. They never showed what was the sweet science he was employing. So I'm going to break a little gem on you guys, because Floyd Mayweather's career basically over in the pros as a pro boxer facing elite pro boxers. So I'm going to break down 1 or 2 things that Floyd Mayweather does in the ring that a lot of people take for granted. One of them is he's very good at controlling real estate. Okay? Now, that for a lot of you guys, it would be like, yeah, well, of course. But I'm going to be very specific about it, all right? So if I'm facing Floyd Mayweather, for example, right? I'm an elite fighter and so on, right? I know to proceed off the jab. Even if I'm Errol Spence, for example, I'm going to proceed off my jab. I'm coming behind my jab, because when I come behind my jab, you can catch me on the top of the head maybe, and that depends on if I'm coming off this way, all right? But if I'm coming off my jab, and I'm coming off an angle, I'm coming to you at like a circle, like an arc. So I'm coming from here and I'm jabbing in this way. Okay. So if I'm coming off an arc, I'm coming off from a jab, and I got my squat down nice and beautiful, so it's harder for me to get countered, and I'm doubling and tripling off my jab, which they tell you to do, I have a better chance of handling this guy. Maybe he might move backwards. I want to push him back. I push him back with the jab. And then I watch to see what he's doing, and then I selectively start throwing my punches, right? A la Marcus McDonald. So this is what I'm going to do, right? The problem is, if every step forward I make he makes a step forward. He makes a step backwards in an arc as well. Then he's cutting off my angle. So if I'm coming off an angle this way and I'm jabbing in this way, and he, on the other hand, is responding to me, and as I'm coming in this way, he's moving this way, he's cutting off my angle, right? He's taking away the angle that I have. And remember, it's a square circle. So if he wanted to do that all night long, he could circle out from me, and then he just stands in the ring and just be walking. He'd just be doing this casual thing. His thing is, the thing with Floyd is his response time. So he's not going to do nothing. He's not going to do nothing to me. He's not going to be going at 100 miles an hour like Manny Pacquiao. He's not going to be, and he's like, fade. He don't have time for that shit. He be standing right in front of you. You standing there. He's standing here. He's rocking back and forth. Maybe he's doing front and back pivots, right, in front of you. But he's not going to waste energy. He doesn't do that. And people say, well, you take the initiative from him and make him fight. For no, he's only going to do as much as you're doing. He's watching you. So if you stay active, and again, he's looking at specific how you are positioned in space. He knows exactly how you're positioned in space. So he's not going to do nothing unless, because he knows where he is. He knows how far away he is from you. Okay? So he knows only when you're approaching him and you're getting into a certain range to move away from you. He wants to maintain a particular range. He's going to maintain that range. How much you want. And he's only going to do it as much as you move. And even as much as you get close to him. Let's put it that way. So it's kind of like an elusive mirage. You keep on coming up to him and you think, oh, I'm going to. But every time you advance to him, he's advancing backwards. If you take a step back and see him come forwards, Keith Thurman talks about it as the yin and yang. Keith Thurman understood what Floyd Mayweather was doing. It's maintaining range, and he knows how to do that exceptionally well. And the thing about it is it's like, take for instance, like I said before, you're doing all the right things, right? So you're coming off the jab this way, right? So you're coming off the jab this way, and you're jabbing in, right? Or in this case, I'm orthodox. I'm coming in off the jab this way, right? Okay. So you're coming in off the jab that way, and if you're not careful, he could trap set you because he likes going backwards. He likes going backwards, okay? He doesn't have a problem going backwards. He doesn't have a problem going forwards, but he actually gets hit more going forwards than he does going backwards, right? And so some people observe that Canelo actually is better at going forwards than Floyd is at going forwards. To some degree. That's not really true because when Floyd was going forwards against Canelo, he was tagging up Canelo. Canelo was really tagging him up. But anyway, so let's say you're going backwards. You're chasing him down. If you make a mistake and go down the wrong line, which is possible because he can distance control with you like this. And all of a sudden he does a short pivot to run you into the shot, and he's off the line of where you're coming down. So you have to really pay attention. That's why I said he does these little changes, these little adjustments, and he can catch you coming down the wrong line. He can spring a trap on you because he likes going backwards. He likes you coming to him. Okay? Canelo likes you coming to him too, but he's a little bit more obvious. He don't know how to go get you if he has to go get you. Right? And the thing with Canelo is Canelo still has to learn in this game how to get in somebody's head to get them to come at you. Like, for instance, Gennady Golovkin. Canelo will be walking down Gennady Golovkin the whole entire fight. Oh, yeah, fuck you, motherfucker. I'm going to walk your ass now. Yeah, but Floyd don't do that. He don't do that. He's walking you down, yeah, with his two hands up. He walking you down, and he'll throw a bait. He'll bait you, and he'll counter. He always do the bait and counter. He will bait you and then counter. Roberto Duran, bait and counter specialist. Roy Jones Jr., bait and counter specialist. Floyd likes the bait and counter. He liked the bait and counter because he's in control. Right? So even when he's walking you down, a la Zab Judah. He waiting for Zab Judah to throw something, or for Zab Judah to be out of position, because he will throw first. He will be first if he needs to be, right? But he's waiting for you to be out of position for him to target you, get you, because he does not want you to counter him back. And it's not that Floyd is adverse to wars. We've seen it with DeMarcus Corley. We've seen it with Oscar De La Hoya in the final round. We've seen it with Marcus McDonald, where they were just warring, they were just going at it. He has done it before. Miguel Cotto, right? He's not averse to wars, but he's like self-preservation. I don't want to, like Muhammad Ali would say, I don't want to dirty up my pretty face just because I need to win a fight. Fuck that. If I don't need to dirty my face, if I don't need to break a sweat in a fight, I ain't doing it, okay? And that was the same thing with Floyd. Floyd had that attitude of Muhammad Ali later on thought he could take some of the body punches and shit, and he started taking punches. It was just kind of, but you know, his skill set wasn't as he used to be, right? You know, he had been dropped and all kinds of shit, even as Cassius Clay. But with Mayweather's not going to waste time. Like, he's very economical. He's not wasting punches. Well, he tries not to. And he doesn't like wasting his time doing unnecessary movement. He's going in the fight to fight just the amount of fight he needs for the opponent to dominate them, make them look stupid, beat them, and if possible, stop them, and win the fight. He's not going to expend more energy than he needs to. So you have to bring that out of him. You have to put him, challenge him to do something more. Otherwise, he's like, okay. And once he figures you out, it's a problem. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So the problem with him is he makes adjustments. So where you may be successful at doing something early on to him, you find all of a sudden you realize, wait, what's going on? Why can't I not do the same things I was doing? Marcus McDonald early in the fight with Floyd was catching him over the top of the head with those ankle punches, man. He would just rip those punches. Even when Floyd dipped to the side, he still catch him with the punch, right? So what did Floyd do? What is the adjustment he made, right? What is the adjustment he made? He started to say, oh, okay, it's like that, huh? He would take a step back, wait for Marcus McDonald to arc the shot, and he would come up with a shot, right? He caught him with up on his mouth, with like that. And Marcus McDonald still kept on throwing shit, but Floyd started hitting him with uppercuts to counteract the downward punch. Then he started adjusting and making his ankle punch to Marcus McDonald's ankle punch, right? And then he started very sly, very tricky little shifts in the body. He would shift his position just slightly. So whereas when he would shift back this way and Marcus McDonald would catch him, this time he decided to shift just slightly off to the side like this, all right? Or sometimes he would dip and pivot up, dip and pivot this way. Without the check hook sometimes, with the check hook sometimes, right? So there was these little minor adjustments he started doing to Marcus McDonald, but he wanted to bring the fight to Marcus McDonald. It was a real macho thing that was going on. And as the fight started to develop later down the stretch, he was standing directly in front of him. He wasn't even moving. He would just stand right directly in front of him, and just anything Marcus McDonald do, he was ready to light his ass up and counterpunch him, right? And he was just walking to him. So you can see that at that point in time, he decided, I'm going to take his inside game from him. He was like, I'm going to take your inside game from you. So what do you do then? With a guy that can do all those different things, you have to understand it's all about range. It's all about control. And you can't take that control away from him if you don't understand what he's trying to do to you. Okay? What is his end point? With Floyd Mayweather, his end point is to weaken you sufficiently. He knows he has the superior cardio. That's why he knows he be working while you're not working. So he knows he has the superior cardio to you. He knows it. So he's not worried about his cardio. He wants to outlast you. And so that's why when I hear people talk about 15 rounders, you know, if these old timers, if Floyd was going 15 rounders, these old timers would knock him out. Fuck no. Fuck no. You think this guy gonna allow anybody to outlast him in a fight? Fuck no. And Chris on the 15th round too. He ain't faded. That motherfucker would never fade. Why? He'd outwork these motherfuckers. In the gym and otherwise, he'd be up while these motherfuckers sleeping. He be up while these motherfuckers drinking. He be up while these motherfuckers partying. He be up while these motherfuckers blowing up in weight. He was going to outlast you. That's a guarantee. And you're going to have a tough ass fight from round 1 to round 15. Why? The mentality of the guy, his conditioning. And you know he's going to the fight. He know he's not the biggest puncher in the world. But while you throwing one bazooka, he throwing 15 millimeters. He knows he's going to wear your ass down because he's very strategic about what he's doing. He's very critical about his placement of punches. He don't just throw, you don't see Floyd throwing them fucking flurries like even Roy used to throw a whole set of right, left flurries, right? Floyd don't do that shit. He don't just throw you left, right, left, right, left, right. Like Sugar Ray Leonard was saying, I just threw a lot of left, right, left, right. Sometimes again, he was very strategic how he places punches from the head to the body. But for the most part, you will never see Floyd doing a left, right flurry just like that. He always go to the body, to the head, to the body, to the head, to the head, to the body, to the body, to the head, to the head, to the head, to the body, to the head, to the body. He mix it up. And he's throwing different kinds of punches. Not just some left, right hook bullshit. Right? Why? Because this guy was schooled in such a manner that he mixed up his shots in a certain manner. There are a lot of fighters out there that are beautiful. They're prettier to look than Floyd. They're not prettier to say per se, but more exciting to look than Floyd. Not necessarily prettier. I've seen guys fighting off the back foot and just counter punching your ass as they're going backwards, right? I've seen so much beautiful stuff in boxing. But the one thing I'm gonna tell you guys is they not as strategic as this motherfucker. Nobody in boxing is as strategic as this motherfucker. That's why they call him the smartest guy in boxing. He's very fucking strategic about everything he's doing, okay? And this is rehearsed stuff, okay? And if he got to bring more stuff out the bag, he'll bring it out if it's necessary, right? So when you're facing a guy like that, with all that experience at the championship level, on top of that, you have to be consistent in what you're doing, but you have to make the adjustments while he's making the adjustments to be consistent in what you're doing. If you're going in there, your game plan is to out-jab this motherfucker, land that jab effectively, push him back, work his body. That's the game plan, right? That's the game plan. That's one of the game plans. You got to make all these little minor adjustments inside the fight to match him. He's going to have the experience on him. He's been fighting as a champion for God knows how long. He's going to have the experience on him. So the 15 round is back in the day. Throwback. Let's talk about that. First of all, if I was a throwback fighter having to face Floyd, first thing I got to do is I got to try and wear him down. I got to try to wear him down. I might be the biggest puncher in the world. I can't go in the fight thinking like that. I got to think that me and him, we just boxers. He's just a normal boxer like I am, but he's got experience. I know he got experience on my head, so I'm going in there and I'm going to that body. Jake LaMotta, you know, all them guys go to the body. Sugar Ray Robinson, right? All them guys go to the body. But I cannot count on my fucking power. I cannot count on what everybody else is talking about. Oh, I'm gonna smoke him, and fuck that. This is gonna be a boxing match. This motherfucker is strategic. Okay, if I try to just overwhelm him with shots and just go in there, he is going to run a number on me because he's going to be pot-shotting my ass and taking my energy out of me. Unlike all the other boxers in history, who have fought and, you know, they being strategic and all of that shit, but when the other guys start to upheave them with the jabs and shit, they don't know what to do and it ends up being a war. This motherfucker's different. This motherfucker will make the adjustments. And if I think I'm just going to bring heat on him, and I'm not making no fucking adjustments while he's making it, I'm not observing what he's doing, I'm going to get smoked. Okay? So you have to think about that. That this guy, he's not worried about you. He's not worried about you. And that may be his downfall. If you could stay pinpoint fucking accurate, and every single adjustment he makes, you be aware of it, and you make the adjustments, maybe not equally as fast. And the other thing is you got to be committed to your jab. No matter what's happening, you got to be committed to your jab. But you can't always be walking into this guy. He's going to trap set you. You got to be able to sidestep him. You got to be able to pivot around him. You got to be able to let him sometimes come to you. Not to say that you're going to have success. He might tag your ass up. But the point is, you got to make him come to you so you can set the trap. Marcus Maidana was able to counterpunch Floyd, I think it was in the 4th round, and set him up for something because Floyd took him for granted, was pull counting his ass, and he did 4 pull counters in a row. And Marcus Maidana was able to get his timing, crack his ass, right? You got to make him underestimate you. Oh, this is easy work. Easy work. Boom. Light his ass up. He probably not going to go down because he's tough. So, but that's what you got to do. You got to sometimes bait him in, because if he's the king of bait and counter, you got to become a king of bait and counter, because he's not thinking. He's thinking, I'm the king of bait and counter. I'm going to set you up. And you set his ass up. You understand what I'm saying? All of that got to go down in the fight. And then you stick behind your fucking jab again. Jab that jab up in his face. Work him back to the ropes once you set him up and catch him, because he's going to be hurt. You want to maximize on that. And you've got to think like how he thinks. I got to wear your ass down for 15 rounds. I know you more conditioned than I am. So motherfucker, one of us got to get out of here. One of us going to get stopped. It ain't going to be me. So I'm going to wear you down as much as I can with my skills and what I have to bring to the table. I'm going to try and wear your ass down as much as possible, because I know your ass ain't going to just go nowhere just like that. You way conditioned more than I am. So that's how you have to think. That's how you're going to give him a good fight. That's how you're going to get him in the corner. Yes, he gets out of corners. We know this, okay? He knows what to do to get out of the corner. We know. No matter how much you cut off the ring, he can get out of the corner. He has various tricks that he uses to get out of the corner. I know. But you want to at least land something good on him while you're in the corner. And then instead of waiting for him to get out of the corner, why don't you back off of him? Back the fuck off of him. Back off of him. Sure, you're free to come out the corner. And I'm going to track your ass down and put pressure on him. You're not going in, you're not committed, but you're putting pressure on him all the time. Put pressure on him. Put pressure on him. Pressure on him. Smart pressure. Because you know he might be more skilled than you are. He might be actually, he have better conditioning than you. But that doesn't mean you got to be like him. You got to be willing to pot shot. You got to be willing to peck at him. You got to be willing to chip at him, because he's not going nowhere, okay? So you have to be able, this is what you got to think. You got to think like this. You have to be able to do to him what he would want to do to you. And what you have to be able to mirror him, as Buddy McGirt said, and that's how he made a tough fight with Pernell Wicker. You got to be able to mirror. You got to be observing his ass and everything else. You got to be as observant. Well, you're never going to be as observant as he is. Probably he's God gifted with that. But what you could do is be more sharp, be more observant, pay attention to what the little things he's doing, so you can make those little adjustments. You're going to be a step behind him, but stay consistent behind the fucking jab. You have to be able to follow him pretty well, and you got to be able to punish him. Paul Spadafora did so well against Floyd, even though he was not in the conditioning that he was today, because Paul Spadafora stayed with the fundamentals, stayed low. He stayed behind his jab. He stayed committed to what his game plan was, to push Floyd back. Of course, he did not succeed all the time, but it makes for a better fight. It makes for a more exciting fight. It made for a more competitive fight. And that's how you deal with Floyd Mayweather. You've got to be equally, well, he can't be equally as smart as him. Probably he's smarter than you. But you have to at least have that IQ where you're aware of what he's capable of doing. And you must look for those subtle nuanced things he's doing in there, because he will try to get in your head. The way how he wins fights is he breaks fighters mentally. He broke Jose Luis Castillo in the second fight. Castillo was doing well. The fight was competitive. It was more competitive than the first fight. But Castillo's mind was mentally broken in the 10th round. Floyd broke him. And that was it. You cannot be like that against Floyd Mayweather. And a lot of you fighters out there, a lot of you guys always want to go in there and fight. You want to fight and fight. That's a fucking stupid mindset to have. In the sense that, yeah, everybody want to fight. But you can't just be thinking of get back like that. You have to. Floyd's not a guy like that. Floyd's a guy that will set you up down the long term. And there's no way. He has good defense. He has really good defense. So there's no way you just going to just go in there and do a number on him. It's just not going to happen. He's too well conditioned. This motherfucker has never been dropped At least where he's been dropped. He dropped by his own self. He hurt his own hand and he dropped, okay? And Zab Judah caught him with a counter punch and put him down. But he's never really been power shots. He's never been hit by a power shot and dropped. Never. And his entire fucking career, and he is been with some of the hardest fucking hitters of his era in his weight class. He been with some of the hardest hitters in his weight class. And they didn't drop him. So if Cotto can't drop him, Mosley can't fucking drop him. Pacquiao can't fucking drop him. Okay? I mean, there was some heavy hitters we talking about. Oscar couldn't drop him, right? How the fuck you gonna drop him? I don't care who you are. He don't go with one shot. He's too well conditioned for that shit. You've got to do the same to him. You have to accumulate punishment on him like he would in a 15 rounder. You have to accumulate punishment on this dude. Don't let nobody fool you. And the bullshit about, oh, Floyd, he fell fisted. Oh, yeah, you just have to corner him and knock his ass. That shit don't happen. It don't happen. History has proven that. He don't get knocked out. So you're not going to knock him out. He's got better defense than Mike McCown. He got better defense than James Toney. He's not going to get knocked out. So stop with the bullshit. The way you got to beat him is systematically. You have to gradually get shots in, gradually wear down his conditioning so that he's just a smidgen of a step behind what he was in the beginning of the fight. You need him to slow down some way, somehow. If you're a power puncher, commit your power shots. Don't overcommit them, but commit your power shots to his body, obviously, to slow him down. But more importantly, touch him to the body. You don't have to put too much mustard on. Touch him to the body. Try to touch him to the body all the time, right? The game plan is a sensible game plan. Go behind your jab, go behind him, push him to the ropes, and try to work his body, right? That's the game plan that most people use for Floyd Mayweather. But you can't just stick with that game plan. Sometimes you have to not push him to the ropes. Now, you got to make sure you're capable of pushing him to the ropes first. So you make sure you test that out, right? But you must go to the body. So sometimes you set a trap for him. You let him come to you, and then you work his body. All right? Forget about his fucking chin. His chin he's got a hell of a chin. Okay? He's like, think of him as a Mexican fighter. He ain't going down. Okay? You got to work the body first. Okay? That's easier said than done. But the point is, you have to be observant as he's observing. You have to try. You have to mirror what he's doing if you're capable of doing it. If you have the skill set to do it. Right? Because sometimes he can set you down and he sets a trap for you in that he'd be doing things that you could do, and then he does something that you can't do. Okay, and then what the fuck you gonna do then? Go back to your fundamentals. So that's the only way you're gonna beat him. You have to be reasonably smart. You have to approach this thing in a reasonably systematic way. All that bullshit from the past, where these past greats do all kinds of shit that he's very good at doing what they're doing, he will take that shit away from you. Okay, he's going to take it away or limit what you do. So you don't want to be. So what you want to do is you stick to your game plan, a game plan for him, and he's sticking to that. Okay. And we have phenomenal guys in boxing, and we got phenomenal game plans in boxing. But can the game plan be executed? That's always the question. Okay, because sometimes I watch these guys, they're doing the right things. Double the jab up, stay low. You know, they're doing the right things for this guy. And then all of a sudden, he's in control of the fucking fight. And you're asking yourself, what the fuck just happened, right? Where you go back and break it down and you realize, okay, he got in this guy's head here. And this guy decided to abandon the game plan for a second to get back. Or sometimes the other guy, you know, he don't have that experience and didn't realize it. And Floyd realized that this guy, okay, on the inside, he ain't really that good on the inside. And he exploit that shit, right? Even though the guy is an inside fighter, he's not that great on the inside, and he realizes that. And so Floyd will take advantage of different situations he finds with you. Sometimes you do very, very well, and he's just wearing you down, and then he realizes, okay, he just slowed down. And he just take advantage of you, okay? So there's many different reasons why guys even with much more ability than Floyd, you know. I was thinking of the Sean Porters of the world and how they would do against Floyd Mayweather. And Sean Porter's, again, if they stay disciplined enough in the world, a Sean Porter in the world who stays disciplined, well, it's an old Floyd now, so probably could whoop his ass. But the old Sean Porters of the world, a guy like a Sean Porter who's relentless, a guy like an Aaron Pryor who's relentless, they don't give up. But again, if you keep on going towards a guy, you won't get fucking fucked up. You can't just be going to him. You got to set traps. Sean Porter has an interesting style in which he does counterpunch as well. And that may work in his favor if he could just be a little more fucking accurate. Because Floyd got a defense that you're not going to hit him like that, right? So it would be interesting still to see what Sean Porter could do launching in. Even this old ass Mayweather. He may not win the fight, but Sean Porter ain't going to fuck him up. I can guarantee you that. As physical as Sean is, Floyd knows how to, and Floyd's pretty strong. It would be interesting seeing Floyd turning Sean on and bumping him different places because Floyd had that pivot work that's just sick. And on top of that, he knows how to get to the lower ground. So a guy like Sean who be trying to tackle, go from low to high, he can get bumped all the way, bumped around the ring with the shoulder. Be bumping his ass around the ring. He probably wouldn't win because Sean would probably be the more active fighter. But I can see Floyd, even old ass Floyd. I'm watching that old ass Floyd. He be thumping, man. That motherfucker he got a lot more power than when he was younger. When he was young, he wasn't using that kind of power. Now, this motherfucker thumping. I was watching this motherfucker doing heavy bag and the other bag. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he be thumping. You hearing the shots cracking, and you hearing the fucking shots cracking all over the gym. I'd be like, what the fuck? He thumping now. Like, he got a lot more power, man. He never been the heaviest punch in the world, but he always had a decent punch. And again, the thing with him is he hits you with one punch, well-placed punch, sufficient amount of power to really bring the wind out of you. He could drop you with that shit if you're not in one condition, So there's a lot of problems trying to beat this guy, beat a Floyd Mayweather, and the longer the fight goes, the more he's probably going to stop your ass because he's not going to get tired, And but if you got the right game plan, right, you're going to tire him out just enough that it gives you a better chance to make the fight closer or to win the fight, which is most important. It gives you a better chance to win the fight. So you want to tire his ass out. The Marcus McDonald, the first Marcus McDonald fight was when Marcus McDonald actually started to tire out Floyd. But he did it through illegal means. He was hitting him with low blows. He was tackling his ass. When Floyd was trying to get better of him in the boxing, he was kneeing him in the nuts, biting his ass. He was doing a lot of things to kind of tire out Floyd as well. And sometimes you might have to do that too. You might have to start fighting with a lot more craft and a lot more dirty. So you might have to hit him in the nuts a couple times to beat his ass. But what I'm saying is, though, you got to have a smart game plan to face Floyd and be able to execute that game plan. It's one thing to talk about a smart game plan. And I told you, all the subtle things, like those little incremental adjustments, those incremental changes in range, those little incremental changes when he realizes, oh, you're not that good on the inside, he won't start to exploit that. Or if he realizes that you're not good from long range as much as he is, he'll exploit that situation. Right? If you had to really make his ass fight, and he really has to fight you, then you've really done a good job. Okay? Even if he does overwhelm you and really start to beat your ass up because he has to fight you, you would have done an excellent job of making him fight. Okay? And I remember Jesus Chavez making Floyd do some fighting more than he was still very systematic with him, and we were still breaking him down, but he was doing more fighting. Floyd had to fight him a bit. That was really good. It was a really good fight. I wish the fight went on a little longer, but it was a really good fight. Jesus Chavez. Guys, go check him out. Good little boxer. Bad motherfucker. I don't know what he's doing now, but we don't hear too much about Jesus Chavez anymore. But the great Eric Morales beat him. But, he was a great little fighter, man. He was a great little fighter. And I thought he made Floyd fight a lot more than Floyd probably bargained to do. He thought he was going to dust this guy and that would be it, but nope. Emmanuel Augustus' fight was good, but not as good as the Jesus Chavez. Jesus Chavez was given as much as he was getting. You know what I'm saying? He was putting it out there. Good little fighter. Good little fighter. Good little fighter. Um, One other guy I want to talk about is Juan Lascanzo, man. Juan Lascanzo was a fucking great fighter. In fact, I thought he beat the Guyanese guy. What was his name? It begins with V. Oh shit, something Harris. I think Vernon Harris. Is it Vernon Harris? Some Harris. Okay. I thought he beat him actually, Lascanzo, but they gave Harris the decision. And I think Harris afterwards, I think he faced Carlos Mauser. And Vivian, that's the name. Yeah, KP from Casey. Oh, you listening to this shit. All right, oh, cool. Yeah, he faced Vivian Harris, man. And let me ask you something, KP from KC. How would you beat Floyd Mayweather? Come on, talk to me. Because I'm thinking how to beat this guy. And there is a way to beat him, but I mean, it's a lot more complicated than people make it. How would you beat a Floyd Mayweather? Talk to me. What kind of game plan would you bring forward to beat the Floyd Mayweather? You know, Freddie Roach had good ideas as well. Freddie Roach had good ideas. I was listening to the different trainers in their corner. Buddy McGirt had a great game plan for Turo Gaddy. And Gaddy was actually, if Gaddy had stuck to that game plan, if he had not lost his temper, closest way is to pressure him but keep the guard active. Cool. Gaddy had a good game plan. He was actually slipping a lot of the punches, bobbing under them and shit. Buddy McGirt had a good game plan to face beat Floyd Mayweather, but again, Floyd keep on changing it up though. He keep on changing it up, but it was a good game plan. If Gaddy had kept his composure, I think he'd have done a lot better. Yeah, Floyd does adjust, but I think Floyd gets in your head. A lot of the fights where the guys actually lose to Floyd, you know, he be playing mental games with you. Cause he was laughing at Oscar. You know why he was laughing at Oscar? But Oscar was throwing all those fucking flurries? Because he got Oscar to commit to coming towards him. You can't commit all the time to coming towards him, man. He'll set traps for you. You know, he sets traps for you. So you have to also draw him into you. And I think a lot of and it's not just exclusively, because if he's just going to get you, he gonna fuck you up, right? You can't just be trying to do what he's doing. You have to, first of all, you got to show that you got something that could hurt him or something that he can respect. And once he respects that, then the next thing you got to do is you got to set traps like he's setting traps. You can't just be fucking going in there trying to, yeah, you're going off your jab and shit, but you can't just be going in there, you know, trying to take it. And it definitely ain't gonna knock his ass out. You can forget about that, right? So you're going in there and you're trap setting him as well. So you could counter punch his ass. You don't have to be walking his ass down and cutting off the ring and then going in there and landing body shots. Fuck that. Keep the distance. Keep the pressure on. Let him have to pop his jab and you counter the jab. You know what I'm saying? Why does it always have to be that, you know, you have to do something and he's baiting to counter you? Yeah, but what I'm saying is, not if you're coming off a double or triple jab. Look, he didn't counterpunch Oscar that much, okay, early on, okay? He wasn't successful at landing a lot of shots on Oscar. It was later on in the fight, right? But even though he did get some good body shots on Oscar, and most of the time when he got the body shots on Oscar or the head shots, it's because Oscar was just throwing these fucking ass flurries that was stupid. He was just throwing a whole bunch of flurries. He cramping himself up for space on Floyd, and then Floyd would just simply throw that little uppercut on the inside to his solar plexus, or uppercut him to the head, or right hook him to the head, and he looked like a fool. Because why? Because you just coming in on his ass. If you're gonna come in, leave. Back up on him. You can't just be coming in throw 1, 2, 3 shots like Joe Kazaki did to Roy Jones Jr. Bop, 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 and then back outside. Don't stay on the inside. You know what I'm saying? And he will vary range because he knows how to rope it up like Ali. So he might rock back in the ropes or rock out of the ropes, or he might roll under and bump you. You know, he don't stay the same place. Unlike Roy would just sit on the ropes. Floyd don't sit on no fucking ropes. So if you get something and you back out, and when you backing out, back out in an angle. Don't just back out the straight way. If you back out straight back, he gonna catch your ass. So I'm just saying, like, all of these, and then of course, yeah, okay. So if you succeeded, that he's gonna make an adjustment. We know that. But what I'm saying is, stick with the game plan. If the game plan is to back him up to the ropes, right? It doesn't mean, look at Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin's smart enough to understand if he's throwing 3, 4, 5 shots and he's hitting air against Canelo, he's not going to go just throwing shots, right? So you go back Canelo up, put pressure on him, pivot here, pivot there. That's what you do. You don't just stay in front of the guy because you're going to get hit. Okay? He's faster than you. So you're probably going to get hit. So you got to keep on moving, changing the fucking angles. Sometimes you have to push him up into the corner. And probably he's up in the corner. You know how Floyd is. He'd be the rock back this way, leg out in front, watching your ass and everything you doing, right? So he's back in the corner there. You got him in the corner. Now you can't just stand up like a mooks and do nothing, right? Maybe you gotta bait him. So bait him with a jab. Bait him with a fucking jab. Stay low to high like Marcus McDonald is. Bait him with a jab. What do people do usually after the jab? There's a right hand that comes. Either straight right hook, there's a double jab, right hook, right? So Floyd knows that shit's coming. So instead, bait him with a jab, and if you can get position, you bait him with a jab, catch him with a hook, right? You bait him with a jab, catch him with a left hook. Throw something different. Yeah, okay, he might catch the left hook because he's positioned to do that. But the shit is, you catch him with a hook, all right, and then you back the fuck out. Cotto versus Floyd was probably the best fight he had. Yeah, Cotto had a fucking good jab, boy. He had a great jab. Cotto had a great jab. Because the jab does push him back, at least until he makes an adjustment to the jab. It does push him back. His adjustments usually is to counter you under the jab, start working the jab in hand. He want to take that jab away as soon as possible. Maidana and Castillo had better success. Also chopped up Corley when he got to 1. Yeah, but Corley was banging with Corley. He wasn't boxing Corley. When he started boxing Corley, it was over. Corley said that even. Corley said, well, they were banging. Corley had it better at him. And Corley's thing was the left hook. Corley had a hell of a left hook. A right hook. Maidana and Castillo had better success. Also, Chacho Cook. Maidana had a hell of a success. But Floyd made the adjustments, right? And Maidana couldn't just come in off the jab. Floyd started countering the jab. And pull countering the jab. And right countering the jab. And left hooking the jab. He was doing all kinds of shit on Marcus McDonald jab. And Marcus McDonald was roughhousing him. He did a lot of roughhouse. Because he was getting out of box. So he started to roughhouse Floyd. Started to forearm him and tackle him and kick him and bite him. Hit him in the nuts. He had to roughhouse his ass, try to get him out of the game. And that motherfucker would not leave his game plan. Marcus McDowell tried something. Castillo did better. Castillo was actually pull countering and he was adjusting his range and he was doing a hell of a lot of it. I mean, even in both fights, Castillo was doing great. Like I said, Floyd mentally broke him. He mentally broke him. Castillo was wondering, what the fuck do I need to do to beat this guy? And he gave up. At the end of round 10, he gave up. And Floyd took the fight for after that. Yeah, but yeah, you have to, a great game plan. You can have a great game plan. Jab definitely works with Floyd. You can push him back with the jab, at least for a couple rounds. Might get you a head start ahead of him. But other than the jab, you have to have defensive responsibility. You have to stay low. Like Oscar was even doing it. He changed the level and he stayed low. Why didn't Oscar fight like he usually did? Skip like this and fight like this. You know why? Because Floyd would have found his rhythm. He'd have found his rhythm. And the fight would have been more brutal. And a lot of people ask, well, why did Oscar do like Oscar usually do and jump and bounce off his toes and shit? He'd catch you while he bouncing off your toes. Then he would stop bouncing off your toes. Gotta be more strategic than that. Think about the guys that were bouncing on their toes facing Floyd. Think about it. There were guys that did that. And he snapped their head back and then they stopped bouncing on their toes. Um, yeah, but I was thinking about it, how to beat this guy. And you have to have a certain mindset. He's going to be more well conditioned than you are, because you now going into training camps and shit and really committing yourself to boxing and shit like that. You are going to be less conditioned than he is, and then he probably would have more experience than you do, unless we're talking about Pretty Boy Floyd. Um, so even with those deficits, if you stick to your game plan and you make the necessary adjustments to your game plan so that it still stays effective, you have a good chance of beating him. You know, uh, I mean, he does make adjustments faster than anybody else, and they're very nuanced and they're very tricky, and most of it has to do with range. But I think that's the only way. But you have to be, one, you have to be reasonably well conditioned. Two, you got to be a smart enough boxer to understand what he's doing and what you need to do. You have to be able to mirror him somewhat, not all the way through, but and stick to your game plan. You cannot stand in front of him. That is a no-no. And he does different things to freeze you up. Okay? If he catch you with a punch that stuns you, you're frozen, right? And then he can catch you with another one and another one and another one, right? So you have to be able to understand that, still keep mentally focused. He's probably going to try and wear you down. You have to try and wear him down, going to the body, obviously. Not as much head hunting, but if the head presents itself, you take the shot, right? And don't just be on his ass all the time. A lot of guys smother themselves, rushing in. A lot of guys just want to get back. You can't think like that. You have to think long term. You're not looking to knock him out. That's stupid. You're not looking to get back at him if he gets you. You can wait for that down the long run. Pick him. You got to pick at him too. He's a guy that picks at you. You got to pick at him. He's going to land sometimes combinations and shots on you. Do not be intimidated. Do not stop you. Be committed to landing your punches. That's where Marcus McDonald was committed all the way through the fight. And Floyd was rocking his ass all around. He was committed, and made for a more exciting fight. Some people thought it was a close fight. I mean, it was an 8-4 fight, but nonetheless. Yeah, those kinds of things will what make the fight more competitive, right? The guy got composure. The guy's got conditioning on his side and got experience on his side. Right, because the guy started very early in his career, became world champion, was a champion for a very long time, faced a lot of former world champions, faced champions, so he would have all that experience on his side. So if you're new to the dance, or you're a guy that has some experience and been in the dance for a while, those are the kinds of guys that Floyd would have to face, and we'll see how they would do. I thought Mosley could have done better. All right. I thought that Oscar, he did the best he could, but he probably could have done better. Instead of throwing all them fucking flurries that he was doing and just getting all fucking excitable, he should have probably backed the fuck off when he landed a good punch, see how that effect took place, and then go back into his game plan of jabbing. Why doesn't these guys stick to the jab? Just jab, 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 jab. Just keep on jabbing. Okay, yeah, he's punishing you for the jab. I understand. Your hand's getting heavy. But you got to stick to it. Marcus McDonald stuck to his fucking jab. He stuck to his jab, right? Jose Luis Castillo stuck to his jab in both fights, okay? Why are these guys just staying to the basics? And one thing I liked about Castillo was not one of them fighters that just, he had composure. Castillo was a guy that had a lot of composure. I love that about Castillo as well. In every single fight, he had composure, and he was a well-schooled, well-composed fighter, and obviously he would have the composure. If you sparring a guy like Julio Cesar Chavez, a fucking badass Julio Cesar, I think Julio Cesar Chavez was at super lightweight at the time, you better be composed. You better be a hell of a fighter, He used to spar. He was main Julio Cesar Chavez, main sparring partner, right? So this guy was very composed, very tricky. He had all these little tricks of the trade. Decent inside fighter, but his main thing was more mid-range, outboxing. He was tricky. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world, could take a good punch. So, I thought that, Jose Luis Castillo was a hell of a fighter. especially at lightweight. He was a big lightweight, by the way. Um, I would have loved to see some of the sparring sessions he had with Julio Cesar Chavez, because Julio Cesar Chavez was a great body puncher. Great body puncher. Um, but yeah, I think that the approach that Jose Luis Castillo did in both fights, not just the first one. I thought he performed actually, let me be honest with you guys, I think Jose Luis Castillo performed better in the second fight than in the first one. In the second fight, he did get dropped. In the first fight, sorry, he got dropped. In the second fight, he didn't get dropped. And he actually was more competitive in the first fight. The fight was closer than the second fight. He really had a better chance of beating Floyd in the second fight than he did in the first fight. But I don't think he quite understood what he was doing. He was applying really effective pressure at times. Floyd was still elusive. Floyd wasn't landing as much as people actually thought he was landing. And it was surprising that the second fight got so wide, but I think it's because of the 11th and 12th round where Floyd just kind of took it back. It was a closer fight than the first fight. The first fight was what, 7-5, 8-4. Second fight was like up to the 10th. It was almost dead even. And apparently Castillo did not realize it was a dead even fight. Like, that fight was close. And then he just got broken, and Floyd took the 11 and 12. And again, boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. You could be in the best physical shape. You could be a beast. You could be stopping a whole set of people. You could have all the greatest skills in the world. If you're mentally weak, it don't matter. It don't matter. Right? And we've seen this story over and over again in boxing. And that's why, like, I try to explain to people. You may have seen many black fighters fold when the real pressure came on them, right? Mildred Taylor, man, was a hell of a fighter, but he folded under Julio Cesar Chavez, right? James Buddy McGirt, hell of a fighter, folded under Mildred Taylor, right? Just too strong. It was just that Mildred was just too strong for him. Conditioning, James Buddy McGirt, hell of a fucking fighter, okay? But just was not conditioned to deal with a Mildred Taylor. He just wasn't conditioned for that. You got to work on your conditioning. It's not your skill, right? But at the end of the day, I'm going on 2 hours and 13 minutes talking boxing. I can't believe I'm talking this long. You have the combination of everything, right? But at the end of the day, how smart are these boxers, right? Mildred Taylor's game plan was to outwork Julio Cesar Chavez, tag his ass up, use his strength and his speed and his power to overwhelm Julio Cesar Chavez. And it worked for a while until Julio Cesar Chavez started to realize, was working them body shots. He was working on little body shots all the time, little body shots on Mildred Taylor. He was taking a lot of punishment, but he was working his body shots. And it came to fruition. See, a lot of people believe that it's just all about knockouts and getting guys out of there. But you can't get a knockout necessarily, especially if you're being outclassed, outboxed by another dude. You can't get the knockout just like that. You have to be putting in the work. So you put in a little shot here, a little shot there. You're getting a little shot in here. You're getting a little shot in here. Put some real oomph behind this one right here. Oh, yeah, that'll bear fruit somewhere down the road. 8th, 9th, 10th round. That's gonna bear some fruit. You putting in the work early, nobody's really paying attention. Canelo versus Amir Khan, putting in the work to the body. Everybody thinking Khan's outboxing him. Okay, we'll see. Time will tell. Setting him up for the overhand right? So, everybody always feel that it's by chance that Castillo knocked down Mildred Taylor. No, he was putting in the work round by round. He was doing what he needed to do. He was being outboxed. He was being outbanged. But he was putting in the work too. He was putting in the shots. And nobody was paying attention to that. You know what I'm saying? He putting in work. He's getting cracked and all that shit, but he's putting in work. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that it's not just grit and determination. It's what the guys also doing that you guys are not paying attention to, the little nuanced things, the little short shot in the inside. Nobody saw because they were too close together. But he sneaked in that little shot on the inside right there. That shot will bear fruit because the guy, he breathed heavy. he's coming in on you heavy, and you caught him in between his breathing, yeah, that's gonna hurt that muscle later on. There's these little niggles and stuff. It's like when you roll your foot, and then all you know is your foot's hurting you really bad because you rolled it, right? You strained the muscle in there, but you're not aware of it until like an hour or two after, and you start to really feel the pain. Or like when you roll your wrist, like I rolled my wrist here, or you roll your elbow, but you don't realize that you rubbed your elbow too hard into the ground, or your shoulder. You hurt your shoulder by leaning in too hard on a wall or something. And it seemed like a minor thing, but or sometimes you have a fall early in your life, a hard fall, and then it affects you later on in your life, 40, 50 years after. It's the same shit that happened in boxing. You're putting that damage on the body. It seems like it's not something with great power or anything, but you sneak it in. It's like you stabbed a guy. You stab him with a little stab. It wasn't a big stab, but that stab really starts to affect him later on, and he walk with a limp later on in his life. It's that kind of shit. And so that's the thing that a lot of people, they don't see it because it doesn't seem to produce immediate results in boxing, but really that's the thing that caused the guy to get knocked out. That's the thing that got the guy drained. So that Mildred Taylor was a well-conditioned athlete. So how did he get run out of steam so that Julio Cesar Chavez could be able to stop him? He didn't just run out of steam on his own. Yeah, he was expending a lot of energy, but it was also those timely shots. By he's throwing shots while he looks like he's dominating. It's like Sugar Ray Robinson versus Joey Maxson. Joey Maxson was doing something to tire Sugar Ray Robinson. Don't give me that bullshit that Sugar Ray Robinson just got tired because of the heat. No, Joey Maxson was landing those body shots. Go watch the tape. The fight's right there. He's landing the body shots. He's sneaking in those body shots. While Sugar Ray Robinson's clocking him all over his head, he's working Sugar Ray Robinson's body, and that's how he got him out of there. You see what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't see that. They don't appreciate these things that happen in boxing. Joey Maxson's manager and camp and his trainer was saying the same thing. No. Sugar Ray Robinson, don't come with that bullshit about, the heat took him out. Joey Maxson did that. Give Joey Maxson the credit that he deserved. He was landing them body shots on him. He was landing those body. Yeah, Sugar Ray Robinson was landing more shots on him. He was landing a whole set of shots, but Joey Maxson was big. He could take that punishment because he's a much bigger dude. And he was landing them body shots on him. And he would roll it, hit him with a body shot. And a lot of people didn't understand that until I saw the fight. I realized that. And I started reading up comments on what different people were saying about the fight. And I realized, oh shit, Sugar Ray Robinson was beaten by Joey Maxson. Y'all didn't want to give him the credit. But if truth be told, yeah, he was outboxing him. But Joey Maxson was doing what was necessary to get his ass out of there. He was going to the body. That's why Sugar Ray Robinson was stumbling around afterwards. Yeah, the referee, he faded out because of the heat, but don't tell me that a well-toned boxer, he gonna go down. So Joey Maxson, he didn't fade because of the heat. He was the one taking most of the blows, right? So how the fuck Joey Maxson stands up and Sugar Ray Robinson's the one that's tired? Come on, get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know Joey Maxson was landing them body punches. And that's the problem with boxing. A lot of people so fucking favoritism. They so care about boxers so much, more than the sport, they're willing to give you narrations and lies. They're not willing to tell you the truth about what actually happened. Zab Judah knocked down Floyd Mayweather. Didn't I say that? I never changed my mind on that. Why? Because, see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about the truth. I'm not about bullshit. I don't care about Floyd more than boxing, okay? And this is the problem with boxing today. But I'm a Floyd Mayweather Jr. fan, right? I hate Sugar Ray Robinson. I'm telling y'all the truth. I'm not lying. Go watch the fucking fight. Some of y'all haven't seen the fight. Y'all just hear rumors about it. And the thing is, Sugar Ray Robinson is tired. Go watch the fight. Watch what Joey Maxson be doing to his ass. I saw it. And that's the problem with a lot of you guys out there. You just go with narratives. You don't know who the fuck Sugar Ray Robinson. A lot of y'all don't even know who the fuck Sugar Ray Robinson is. Hell of a fighter. Wasn't even called Sugar Ray Robinson. His real name was something Smith Jr. That'll come to me. I can't remember what it was. Something Smith Jr. Okay? All right. He got into boxing later on in his life. Okay? When he was 16 or something like that. Hell of a fighter. Don't get it twisted, but a long, rangy fighter who could fight on the inside. Beautiful to watch, okay? But don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. There are realities to situations, and we must be able to tell the truth. All right. I always say that Kid Gavilan was not as good as Kid Chocolate. Kid Chocolate was a fucking phenomenal fighter. All you gotta do is go and watch some footage on him. It's fucking phenomenal, man. All right, Kid Gavilan was well schooled though, well schooled fighter. You know what I mean? Sugar Ray Robinson could never knock out Kid Gavilan. He couldn't knock him out for a reason. Okay, man had defense. He had everything. Cuban school of boxing. All right, but that doesn't mean, you know, I still don't see him as good as Kid Chocolate. Kid Chocolate, I love Kid Chocolate. I love Kid Chocolate. I'm not gonna lie to you. Exciting little guy. He was what was he? A super featherweight. Featherweight. That's what he was. Anyways, people, I gotta get out of here. It's 2:21. 2 hours, 21 minutes. I've been talking boxing with you guys. Don't forget that this is what you need. This is the channel. You guys can always share, comment, donate, subscribe. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace. I'm out.